Hello. Is there anybody here helping moderate other than me? Looks like Elizabeth, Shreyam, Ariana. Sorry if I'm butchering any of those names. I'll wait for your response in AV or on the chat. If somebody can confirm that they're hearing AV from me, that would be great.
Hi. Yeah, you're all good. Your audio sounds great.
All right. I'm going to work on loading slides. Welcome, everybody. Great to see you. Great to see that there's so many people here. Just stand by while I get that hooked up. If anybody knows how to share slides, they can pipe in too. I've never used this platform before, so otherwise I'll just continue trying to figure it out.
Yeah, if you click the like icon next to the gear in the YouTube, like the one in the middle with
The one that looks like no screen?
Yeah, if you click that, it should pop up with like a window for you to
Yes, I see.
Perfect.
Looks good. Let's try. Do you see full screen slides right now?
Yeah,
you do.
Great.
Okay, great. All right. All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Tom, and I'm going to tell you guys a story today. And the story is going to be the biggest coding mistake I have ever made. And this is not just a minor mistake. It's not a little fluke. It's a massive error that I made. It set back my career at least 1 year. So it's basically a massive 1 year mistake, and perhaps more. So I want to pass that lesson on to you all, because I know you're working on coding projects. I know that you're interested in tech, coding, software development, etc. And I thought you might enjoy it. So first, a little bit about me, though. My name is Tom Rose. For the connection to you guys, I'm a Duke alum, actually. So I graduated in 2005 with a BME degree. A little bit of Arcana. I was the director of the Duke Smart Home program. I don't know if anybody's heard of that, but that's I was one of the founding members of that. And I was the director of Smart Home. I raised all the money, and I was the director when we built the facility. It was an awesome project. Then I went to MIT, where I studied tech entrepreneurship for several years. I met my co-founder for Testive. So after I left MIT, I founded a company called Testive, which is an ed tech company. Testive is the company that I was at where I made this huge mistake. So you're gonna be hearing a lot about Testive. I've also done several other companies. I've done at least 3 startups from 0 to 1 million plus. So I'm a very early stage serial entrepreneur. I like to go from absolute 0 to past 1 million. That's sort of my window. And then when we get past 1 million, I usually hand off to somebody else. Among other things, I'm also a CEO coach, and I was the CTO. So some of my tech background. I was the CTO of Testive while we were launching. So Testive is a very tech-heavy, tech-driven platform. I'll tell you what Testive is. Testive is a company that does SAT. I don't want to tell you too much about it because that could mess up the story. But in short, we do SAT, ACT prep, and Testive is very tech-heavy. We built a set of algorithms that make the prep process better. They basically help you learn faster. They're really code intensive. They're very math intensive. That was a really big part of what we did. Anyway, I was the CTO of Testive, so I have a software development background through that company, but also I was sort of required to become the CEO of Testive. So I have kind of tech and a little bit of business experience. I'm a weird hybrid. But I do not aspire to be a CEO. I didn't want to be the CEO of Testive. I kind of had to do that. So it was a really interesting opportunity as a tech person to be forced to do business things. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So that's a little bit about me and my background. This session is going to be fairly short. I'm going to walk you through this story. I'm going to do a little bit of a workshop, and then we'll switch to Q&A. And if you guys really want to get back to hacking, we can also split early. So let me tell you the story of the biggest coding mistake I've ever made in my life, which I actually made twice. So first, so it was right after I left MIT, I met my co-founder and I founded a company called Testive. And I told you a little bit about what Testive does now. It's SAT, ACT prep. Now I'm guessing that many of you, minimize this screen actually so I can see your chats. All right. The slides are going to be a little wonky, but that's okay because it'll be better if I can see the chat. So right after I graduated MIT, I knew I wanted to do a startup, not only a startup, but I wanted to do a tech startup. So send a message in the chat. I'm curious about you all. Tell me a little bit about yourselves. Who here is interested in doing some kind of tech startup at some point in their life? Type yes or send an emoji or something into the chat. I'm just kind of curious, like who's here is, hey, I want to do that versus, hey, I want to work in software development for a bigger company. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? So I've got a few yeses so far for, hey, I want to start a company. I want to be on the ground floor. So I really wanted to do that for sure. I was just dead set on that. And I was very fortunate while I was in graduate school to meet my co-founder. He was also in the same program that I was. And then we started doing like hackathons and stuff, just like you guys are doing right now. So for those of you who are not interested in starting a company, what are you pursuing? So why are you here at Hack Duke? Why do you want to work on tech chops? Do you want to work at a tech company? Like, are you Google, Facebook, etc. bound? Or are you looking to other things? And what else is there? Maybe you're not on any of those tracks. You're just like, hey, I just like hacking. That's my hobby. Cool. Okay, so I'm seeing that, hey, I'm interested in hacking. I might start a company, might go work for a software company. I'm not really sure. I'm here to figure things out, which is awesome. That's great thing. So I'm roughly where you were. And all I knew is I wanted to work in tech and I wanted to change the world, and I wanted to change the world using tech. And so I jumped right in with my co-founder at Testive. And you guys probably have experience with the SAT and the ACT, I would guess. Because you're mostly Duke affiliated, you probably took the SAT or the ACT at one point. It's American college admissions test, right? And so you had a little bit of experience with it, as did I. And one of the things that I did was I made a very arrogant mistake, which is I made the mistake of thinking, hey, because I went through this and I studied for these tests, I've lived that problem, so I know the market. So I can go ahead and make a product for that, and I know how it'll work, and I know what to build, and I know who the user is, and so I basically started building for myself. I started building the tool that I wish I had when I was going through that program. And so, does anybody want to take a guess? What was my big mistake? I've kind of hinted at it a little bit, and you guess in the chat. What is the mistake that I made? And I think I've already dropped a few hints. And then after you guys figure out what it is, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you screenshots of our product over time, as you can watch. You can watch us code and develop this mistake into the product as the time actually goes by. So you're both on the right track, Kevin and Sagan. The customer was yourself. That's a huge part of it. I made the mistake of assuming the customer was myself. The customer was indeed not myself. Can you figure out who, so if you make an SAT, ACT prep tool, I have 10 years of experience in this particular market, right? So I can really confidently say I was not the customer, but who, so Sagan made something no one would use. We actually made something that a lot of people used. And so our product, the Testive software tool, was phenomenally successful. It's incredibly powerful. It helps you learn really quickly. And that became sort of like big news and everybody heard about it really fast. It exploded. And so when we were in like year 3 with this tool, our product was used by about 10% of all SAT and ACT test takers that year worldwide. So there's about 3 million test takers per year. So we were used by about, it was like 250 to 300,000 people that year. So yeah, it was massive. So we did not make the mistake of building something that nobody would use. In fact, we built something and like everybody used it and everybody really loved it. It was really, really well loved. But Kevin, yes, I made the mistake of thinking the customer was myself. If the customer's not me, who is the customer? I wish I had somebody there to say this to me while I was doing it. Hey, Tom, maybe you're not the customer. Actually, before we even do that, let's define the difference between user and customer, and then you can start to guess what it is. So this is basically the crux of the lesson that I'd like you guys to take away from, because I want you to blowing a year of your career like I did. What is a user? Let's start with what is a user. I think that's the most straightforward thing. It's a thing people usually don't mess up. What is a user? Or how would you conceive of a user? We don't need like a dictionary definition, but just like when you guys are coding and you say, hey, like we're building this thing for such and such user, who is that? How do you conceive of that person? Sam saying a user would be anybody who uses your code, and a customer is somebody who pays for it. That's an excellent definition. Maggie, the person that is actually using the product you create. Those are both great definitions for user. And Sam, I like your definition for customer. And that's a really, really good definition for customer. So a customer is somebody who pays for it. So, and somebody said a few minutes ago, Saad, sorry that if I'm butchering everybody's names, but because of the format, we just need to barrel on. Parents of high schoolers, yes. That is who the customer was. So we had this weird duality, which we were building code that was being used by students, but was being paid for by parents. So let's take a look. Let me show you how that looks. So here's I got these slides off of Wayback Machine. Are you guys familiar with that? If you've never used Wayback Machine, definitely something you go check out. It basically, what they do is they go to websites and they take snapshots of them. And they try to take snapshots of basically the entire internet and they store them. So if you go to Wayback Machine, you can look at Testive's website over the last decade. It's amazing. So I went to Wayback Machine, I pulled these images off of it. One thing is Wayback Machine is not exactly right. So you can see it kind of messed up our menu bar and stuff like that, but that's okay. You can get a gist of what our product was. Here's what our product was in 2013. So can you take a look at this slide? Who is the target? In other ways, who's the audience for the language that we're using on this site? Who are we talking to? And by just read some of the words and try to figure out who the person was that we thought we were talking to. Okay, Kevin, yes, the student. It says raise your SAT scores, right? But there's another one on here. There's another type of person that we were also talking to as well. Who is that? A tech savvy person. So yes, because I was the sort of a product person and the engineer at this company, and because I have an engineering degree, I have an engineering personality, I always make the mistake of building stuff for techie people, and the world is full of non-techie people. There's no techie people. And by percentage, by mass, there's no tech people in the world. And I always make that mistake. So my stuff always comes out way too techie. And it's not until you'll see, when we get 4 years into this, as we start hiring professional designers, that they fix all that. Other test prep. So Sam, good guess. Other test prep sites. Yes, that is right. You can see down below in that second box, TurboTest, enhance your company's content. So we kind of had two customers at this point. Customer one was students who are preparing for the SAT, ACT, who again was like, that was a mistaken target. And the second one was companies that would, other test prep sites that would use our code. So because we built this algorithm that was super powerful, part of our hypothesis was like, oh, we'll just license this to other companies that they'll see the power and the amazing, how amazing this is, and they'll use it to power their companies. And that actually was super successful. We sold that. We licensed Testive and the app to a big name brand test prep player that you've all heard of for about $500,000 in the first 2 years. And so that was like just a massive early career success, right? We were just like right out of school. It was like 2 years and like, boom, we got this $500,000 contract, and it was all software. So it was almost 100% margin. So it was like $500,000 in revenue, and it was like $400,000 in profit or something massive. And it probably wouldn't have been a horrible mistake to just take the money, end the company right there, and like walk away. That would have been like a sweet ending. We did not do that. We took all the money and plowed it back into the company and built a whole bunch more stuff. But so we had these two customers, and all right, so let's go forward another year and let's see what happened to the site. So here's 2014, and you can see that what we did here was we've dropped off the company. Basically, we had that deal locked up, and it turns out there's only like one massive ed tech or one massive like test prep player in the market, and we sold to them, and they bought it, and everybody was happy, but there was no one else for us to sell to. So we had that deal, so we didn't need to market to them anymore. And we realized that here's another tip: you don't use consumer websites to market to companies, right? You market to companies by like calling them on the phone and like going to see them and stuff like that. You don't market to them through websites. So we dropped them off the website. Now we're focused entirely around students. And somebody pointed out earlier that students don't buy SAT, ACT prep stuff. They just don't. Not only do they like high school students basically don't have any money, or the very limited money that they have, they spend on like movie tickets and marijuana or something. You know, they don't spend it on test prep tools online. Who is buying it though is mom and dad. Okay, so do you guys see the massive problem with this website? This website is focused on selling to, website is entirely focused on selling to students, but that is not our customer. And so as you can imagine, not only is the site not very good, but all the marketing that we were doing in the background, like trying to reach students and all the outreach and programs we were doing and blah, 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 we were just dumping resources and just massively committing to trying to reach students. And we were doing a great job of it. I mean, we reached several 100,000 students, and people were signing up and using our product. You know, we were making like, I don't know, $5,000 a month or something, which is nothing. And if you're trying to run a tech company with more than a few people, 5,000 a month is like, you're not making it basically. And we were just totally wrong. Like, we made a huge mistake. So let me pause here actually and just like that is the main lesson, which is you guys are here at a hackathon, and a hackathon is all about building stuff. It's not really about business. It's really about tech. But the lesson is, don't forget about the business piece. And no matter how good a coder you are, no matter how fast you are, no matter how savvy you are with the best tools and techniques, et cetera, if you are building the wrong thing, you are totally wasting your time. And like a really surefire way to build the wrong thing is to build for the wrong person, right? So you're building entirely for the user who's not actually your customer. So now let's go look at the fix. So here in 2015, you can see that, okay, we've actually fixed some of our techie problems. We hired a designer. Things are looking a little bit better. We're selling direct to consumer, which requires things to look good. And so now for the first time in 2015, things have started to kind of look good. The site, I think, looked a little bit better than this, but you can already tell that, like, you know, somebody who has an aesthetic sense had worked on this a little bit. And also we've added coaches. It says 99th percentile coaches. That's a product change. that we made. And we made that because we realized that parents were the customer. We're still not talking to parents directly. By the time we were in 2015, we were still a little bit in denial. And we were like playing this weird game where we would like really stress out over how to write language and build products that could be used by parents and students. And so we were trying to straddle that divide, and we hadn't fully come to terms with like, hey, we need to sell to parents. Then in 2017, somewhere in there, you can start to see, look at the language on this site. Look at we had a scroller over here. I only had a snapshot, so you can only see one of them, but it says the only test prep that motivates students to do the work. So now we've changed our target audience entirely. This is a massive shift for our company. We're focusing 100% now. It wasn't until 2017. Amazing how long that took. That we're focusing entirely on parents. Parents are the true customer. And now we're finally talking to them. But the imagery is not good on this site. Do you see the background picture here? It's clear that we took this photo, we staged it. We've got the SAT AC book in the foreground. We've got the laptop. We have a student using a laptop in the background. But this image is still not good. Why is it not good? What's wrong with this picture? What's it missing? That now that you know, like what we were supposed to be doing, why is this picture bad? What would make it better? It's missing a key thing that now for me looking back on this is just obvious. It's like, oh, I can't believe we forgot that. It's missing a picture of the student, right? You've got the teacher in there, but it doesn't show the student. And who else does it not show? Who does it? There's only two people that have to be in this picture. One of them is the student, and who's the other one? The parent. Yes, the coach does not actually have to be in this picture. It's a bonus if the coach is in the picture, but it's essential that the parent be in there, because parents, your customer, when they come to your product, needs to feel that you understand them and who they are. They must feel that. If they do not get that sense, they will bounce off your site immediately. And so here's when we finally fixed this. Here's what this is roughly what the site looks like now. And we kind of switched over to this in 2018. You've got the student in there and you've got the parent. And you can see, this is you guys can't know this without knowing more about like our market and product and stuff. This is a perfect picture. It's got the student using the site, the student's liking it, engaged. The student is talking to a human coach. That's a key product feature for our market. You couldn't know that, but it is. Student talking to a human coach. And the parent is in the background, not doing anything. That's what parents want more than anything else when they buy SAT and ACT prep for their kids. They want their kids to use it, like it, and for them to not have to do anything. And so finally, we figured that out. We got our site oriented. But so now everything's hunky-dory. So at this point, once we kind of figured this out, the company was making about $1 million a year, maybe. So it's making real money. And but not massive yet. Like we want to be bigger based on the size of our organization. We needed to make more than that to really like be a success. And we started to max out though. So we had a sales team, we've got a flow of parents, we're doing like a few hundred new accounts per month at about $1,000 a piece. So it feels good. Like it's, it's a real thing, it's moving. But then we started to saturate the parent market. And we realized painfully in 2018, we made that same mistake yet again. So so follow me through this journey. You're building a test prep company. Parents start to get saturated, meaning like you're marketing online. Like we were doing marketing on Facebook. You think about this. We're doing all of our marketing on Facebook and we're getting, like 100 to 200 new parents a month, but that's it. And no matter what we do, we just can't go above that. Where do you get more parents? Parents are on Facebook. We've got that. Where else are parents? And where are parents in bulk? If you want to go sell SAT, ACT prep services to parents, where do you need to be? It's so painful how straightforward this stuff is when I'm doing it in hindsight. Schools. That's right, Kevin. You must be in schools. So students are a user. Parents are our customer, because parents are the one pulling out their credit card. But who's that third Schools are the third massive stakeholder that we were totally ignoring. So just like the student customer mistake that we made early on, schools are also a customer for Testive, and we figured that out in 2018. So let's look at kind of the evolution of that. Here's the website in 2019. It's basically the same site, but I've zoomed out a little bit so you can see below. Look at below the news banner. Limited space available for our October 5th SAT boot camp. So that's something that we have started to run. We've started to figure out products that we can market to parents who are signing up at the last minute, and we started marketing these through schools. But it wasn't until late 2019 and even 2020 that we really hit our massive stride, and we like totally knocked this out of the park. This is the 2020 product, and if you zoom out, scroll down, what do you see there? Free digitally proctored practice tests. Where do you think we give? This is a new thing we started offering to parents. Hey, you can take this free proctored practice test. And how do you think we reach parents to take these tests? We go through schools. And so we made that mistake yet again. We're finally now taking full advantage of the entire market. We have a product that we market at schools so they can help co-market this to parents. Then we have a conversion system that we use to sell parents. And then the student shows up and starts using the software. But, so the thing that I want to pass on to you all is it's never too early to start thinking about that full ecosystem and all the different stakeholders in it. And it's really, really tempting to just, like, if you want to start a company, to just launch out of the gate and start making the tool that your students are going to use. That's like fun. It's a thing that you feel like you understand the best. But that is not going to make or break your project or your company. If I had to flip a coin, or actually, let's say that you gave me a choice. I could only choose one of two things. One is a killer app that helps students improve scores all the time. It's the greatest test prep tool ever made. I can have that, or I could have a steady stream of qualified parent leads. And whichever one I pick, I have to spend my time building the other one. So whichever one I pick is just done forever. And I got a choice. Which one of those would I rather have? I would pick the steady stream of qualified parent leads every single time. So, I treated this like a tech problem, but really it was a business problem, right? Like once you master marketing and the business aspect of getting leads, the tech problem becomes actually relatively straightforward. You ask your customers, hey, what do you want? They'll tell you what they want, and then you build that. And I highly recommend not trying to do it the other way around, which is like, hey, I think the market would really like this. Let's build it and then go see if we can find people. That's what I did. And we took a company that probably could have been launched in about 3 years and turned it into a company that was launched in about 10 years. So yeah, make sure that you do things in the right order and you can dramatically speed up your process. So let's switch over to more of a discussion format. Who are the users and customers in your projects? So you guys are working on stuff. I don't know exactly where you are on your journey. It's pretty early on the first day, right? But do you have concepts for what your projects are? If so, please put those in the chat. And this is casual, lightweight, right? Nobody's judging you here. So let's see, like here, what are your current product hypotheses, or your target markets? What are you hypothesizing about right now in your groups? Zubtu, say more about that. You think that's your market? Right? Yep. So massive opportunity. Yeah. So if you want to start a company, something like COVID, massive opportunity for you, right? Really anything that shakes up the market is always super great. Yeah. If you'd like to, one of the organizers saying, hey, if you want to jump on the mic, feel free to do that. You can just request AV and you can jump on the mic, but also just type in the chat. Basically everybody type in what is your current thing that you're thinking of doing, even if you think you might abandon it in 1 hour. So Zintu, you're saying you think parents are our customers and you think you're going to do something focused on kids who are at home attending virtual school. Love it. And yes, if you're building something where the target user is students who are at home attending virtual school, the target customer, well, it's the target customer is probably either parents or it is or schools, right? But it's almost certainly not students. Where's everybody else? How come you guys aren't in the chat? Oh, are you guys afraid to share because you're like working in secret? Is there like a stealth component to this that I'm messing up? So Ariana's saying computer literacy and social media usage and safety with elders as our target user. That's interesting. Oh, elders, you're saying elders are your target user. Computer literacy. Yeah. So there's a giant market actually for computer literacy stuff. It's really hard to solve it with tech. But if you wanted to go to like retirement communities and run workshops teaching people like how to use tech, they would eat that up for sure. And there's definitely a tech component, like you're going to need a website and a set of tools that they can use and like all kinds of stuff like that. So let's talk about that. So say you're doing that. Who is the customer? Let's say the user is grandma, right? It's like, I've done that, by the way. I've gone to retirement communities and done workshops on how to use Facebook. One time I went to a retirement community, I did an hour-long talk. This is when we were trying to figure out what company to start, and we were thinking about doing something like that. I gave an hour-long talk on how to use Facebook, which I think is a wonderful thing that all grandparents should use, because what do you get on Facebook? You get pictures of your grandkids. Perfect, right? It's awesome. They should all be using it all the time. And they're not. And I think it's a huge missed opportunity. So I was there to say so, and I was there to tell people how to use it, and I was there to help them get started and all that. And right after the talk, this woman comes up to us. She's probably 85, 90 years old. And she walks up very slowly and she says, "Thank you so much for giving the talk." And she says, "I finally understand Facebook, and now I know that I'm not missing anything." So she was like, "You guys created a very vivid picture of exactly what this is. And I've always been curious about it. And now I know I should not participate." So yeah, we abandoned that, that idea. But I think you should not. I think you should keep doing it. I think, we didn't figure out how to crack the nut. But I have had people, since I've been working in Testive, I've had people basically approach me saying, "Do you offer that?" So I know that there's people out there looking for it. All right, does anybody want to? Oh yeah, so here's the question. So Ariana, who is the customer for that? So let's say the user is grandma. So for everyone here, suppose you're making computer literacy classes or some kind of tech onboarding thing for grandma. Who is the customer? So who's actually paying for that? Grandma's using it. Who's buying it? Is it grandma? It might be, but who are other likely candidates? Customer could be a family member, like the child of the grandparent. Yep. Or the community home. Yes. I think those are basically the two ideas that I would try to drill down on, which is whoever grandma is, their immediate child. So probably yeah, so that would be moms and dads, right? And another place to go would be, so they might like buy them like Christmas presents or something, or they might buy them a thing like a onboarding so that they can start connecting with them to get them help like integrated into some kind of family. So actually my great aunt, sort of like my grandmother, emailed me yesterday for advice on what computer to buy. And the other thing that I think is a dynamite place to go check is what they're called CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities. It's like what they're called now, where they usually have an age minimum, like you must be over 55 to live here, so no kids allowed, and they provide all sorts of like services to you as you age. They're amazing, and those people are the broadcast source. So you go meet with them, and from them you get access to the larger market. So let's say that you're going to do that now. That's your project, right? It's like, we want to do this. I think a really serious conversation for you guys to have is which piece of this are we going to build first, or which piece of this are we going to build now? Do we want to build the thing that grandma uses, or do we want to learn about and build the thing that CCRCs use? And from a business perspective, the better thing to build for certain is the thing CCRCs would use. That may not make the best Hack-Duke project, but if you wanted to launch that business, it would be much more important to say for you to figure out how we're going to do customer onboarding than it is to figure out what the thing is that you're going to sell. Don't get me wrong, they're both important, but if you had to order it, I would definitely do the CCRC piece first. We're all at a hackathon, and hackathon's a great place to build prototypes and not think about business. So if you want to just be like, forget business, forget the customer, I just want to build a cool piece of tech, knock yourself out, go for it, have fun. I've done that plenty of times and it's awesome. But just be aware that you are doing that. So when somebody says like, well, what about the market for this? You're just like, yeah, we're not thinking about market right now. This is all product. Or do think about it. That's one option, is to say like, we're not doing it, and just know you're not doing it and know that you'll probably have to change everything. Or you could start doing a bunch of customer research and really build something that you think is targeting your target customer. All right, another interesting one would be marketing this type of software for the holidays. I don't know exactly how to get kids excited about the fact that they got education software as a present, but it might be able to get done. So actually a thing that Testive, so SAT, ACT prep, a thing that we found that did work was grandparents paying for test prep for their grandkids. And that's actually a gift that they're kind of getting for their children, not their grandchildren. They're basically saying like, let's call them grandparent, parent, and child. The grandparent is saying, hey, parent, doesn't child need to be preparing for college? What if I pay for a world-class tutor for child? Child gets the tutor, parent gets the tutor paid for. So they're both kind of getting a gift. So it ends up being a really good gift. The challenge with building business around holidays is that it's super duper seasonal. So holiday marketing is a really, really great add-on. Like, you want to figure out a company and a product you can market year round, and then holiday advertising is a super awesome add-on that you can bolt on. Let's also now open it up to all Q&A. So also let me just say thank you guys for coming. Thank you for participating in the chat. It was awesome getting to meet everybody here. I'd love to hear more about your projects. I'm sorry that we've only gotten to hear from 2 teams. So if you want to share your project and talk about target customers, that's very interesting. Please post in the chat. If you have any questions for me, please post them in the chat and I'll answer. I'll hang out basically as long as you guys have Q&A for me. We'll do that in the chat. You're also welcome to jump on the mic. You just have to request permissions. I don't know how to do that, but there's a button somewhere you can request to jump on the mic and you can just speak and ask a question. So we'll open it up to Q&A about the topic I was talking about. Also, if you need to take off, please take off now. The talk is over. Hang around only if you have Q&A or if you want to listen to other people do Q&A. I'd be happy to talk about, we'll go back up to the About Me so you can see the topic areas if you'd like to ask me about stuff. Things that I'm an expert in. I'm an expert in education technology in general, trends in the market. I've done a ton of fundraising, VC, angel, et cetera. So I'm an expert in the fundraising process. If you want to do institutionally financed tech, I can answer any kinds of questions about that. Obviously Duke and MIT, well, you guys are Duke students. You probably know more about that than me. Also have experience doing K-12 product and product launches, digital online advertising, and weirdly government contract software development. So have at it. If you have any questions in those spaces, be happy to take them. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming. Okay, one question is, how did the tech funding process look for me? It's a really interesting process for me. I did not want to raise money for Testive when we launched it. My co-founder really, really, really wanted to raise money. And I think we made the mistake of, we decided we want to raise money. We wanted to raise money because that was just the lifestyle we wanted to lead. We were addicted to the let's become tech founders, and really big, cool, successful tech founders all raise VC. So we went and did that. What we did not do is sit back and think, what is the optimal financing strategy for our company? If we had done that, I'm not certain we would have come up with, well, I'm certain we would have done things differently. I'm not sure we would have raised institutional financing. So if you haven't dug into this, basically like one of the major pros and cons of institutional financing are if you raise outside capital from angels or VCs, that dramatically accelerates the process of development. However, you lose some control in the company that you're doing, and you dilute your ownership stake. So there's a big trade-off. Really, the loss of control, I think, is the bigger thing. The company sort of goes on rails, and you have to do the thing that you said you were going to do for a few years, no matter what, because the investors, you kind of wire yourself into that. Testive, I think, was a good candidate for financing. And Testive probably could have utilized about $2 million of capital. Testive, we raised about $7 million of capital. So I think we overcapitalized. So over the life of Testive, we probably raised too much money and we spent it inefficiently. I think if you ask the investors, they would say something similar. Testive was at the end of the day, Testive was a success. We were able to exit. So I'm now out of Testive, which is why it says ex-CEO in my title. So we exited Testive for a large stock deal with a large partner that was very lucrative for founders and investors. So that was a big success. But I think it could have, in the time that we had, so Testive was rocking for about 8 to 10 years, depending on how you count. Over that same time period, I think we probably could have grown more slowly and steadily on a smaller budget, and we could have achieved the same exit with much less total capital taken on. So that was something that I would do differently. Do I think the SAT ACT market is saturated, or is there room for innovation? It's absolutely not saturated, and there's tons of room for innovation. So I would say the SAT ACT market it's what I like to call a garbage space. So if you go on Google and you Google SAT prep, you'll find 10,000 hits by 5,000 companies, all of which you've never heard of. And you might think, oh my God, there's 10 trillion people doing this. The market's definitely saturated. It's not saturated. If you get into it, there's plenty of opportunities to make money. It's actually, I think, a very easy industry to make money in. So if you're thinking about, hey, I want to get into a space that's sort of like always a candidate for success, test prep is one of them. And why is that? The reason why test prep is always a candidate for success is, I didn't know this when I got into it, but I know now because I have 10 years of marketing experience for it. But the way that test prep marketing works is parents have no idea what they're doing. There is no sort of institutional juggernaut telling people what to do. So every year you have 1.5 million, actually 3 million if you count mom and dad. So 3 million new parents entering the market that have no idea what they're going to do. And they susceptible to any messaging, media marketing from anyone. And whatever marketing messaging they get, whoever the first company is that they hear of and like, they're likely to purchase from. And whoever they purchase from, they're likely to stick with it. So there's no incumbent for test prep. You've got, Kaplan and Princeton, and everybody considers them, but they are far from dominant. If you add up Kaplan and Princeton together, and the other two, if you add up the top 4 largest, Kaplan, Princeton, Rev Prep, and let's just say those 3, those are definitely the 3 largest. Together, they make up less than 10% of the market. So 90% of the market is people you haven't heard of, and you might as well be one of them. So no, it's definitely not saturated. What do I think about SAT, ACT being dropped from some colleges? Like, the test prep space is super volatile, and there's always chatter in the press about everything undergoing this massive change that's going to be like revolutionary, and the world's going to be totally different now, and like all that, and it just never is. SAT has been around for more than 100 years, and it looks exactly the same. It's like the same crap's been going on for 100 years, and it's just like, this isn't going to be the thing that kills it, Like 10 years from now, everyone's still going to be sitting for that same semi-crappy test and struggling through that. Yes, Jamel, yes, I'll be available later as a mentor during the hackathon. Let me put my contact info in the chat. I'm the real Tom Rose at gmail.com. So if you'd like to reach out, just send me an email directly. I'm not going to be here So you won't see me probably on Discord, but like if you have a question, feel free to email me and I'll get back to you. And we can, probably the best thing to do is jump on a quick phone call. Any other questions? All right, we'll just hang for a minute in case somebody has something they want to ask about. Maybe we can kill the recording. Is there a moderator here? Are you able to kill the recording and then we can do more of like a outside the public view Q&A in case anybody has questions they don't want be just like broadcasting? Probably a place that I can do
that. Okay, I think that I don't know if it can be soft recording, but yeah, I think, let me see.
No worries. If you guys have any questions that you want to talk about not here, just hit me on Discord. I should also post my name on Discord. How does Discord work? It's probably at the real Tom Rose.
So it seems that people are trickling out.
Yeah.
So I guess like if anyone has any questions, your email will be the best way to contact you.
Yeah,
so
email or Discord, either way.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. And
All
thank
right.
you so much for such an interesting talk. It was really cool to
You're
learn
welcome.
about those
Thank you for
different.
having me. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a good one.